I think camera image is brilliant, and it's brilliant what they made of it throughout the years. I mean, I remember reading about it at the beginning, and it was a very small event and very niche. Now it's probably in the top flights of festival in the world, and everybody. What I like the most is that for cinematographers who are always very competitive in between themselves, the fact that it's so far from Hollywood and makes it much more pleasant, in the sense that the reason is, when you go to an American cinematographer clubhouse, you always feel kind of some friction, some tension. It's like, oh gosh, this guy's gonna get the job I wanted. Here you don't, and that I find it very refreshing. Very well. I feel very fortunate, actually. Actually, I have a lot of problems when I work with other directors, because I'm very spoiled, because Terry has a very hands-on approach to filmmaking. He really dives into the project, and he always tries to consider all the aspects of production, and he has very clear ideas and indication of what he want to do. When I work with other directors that instead don't do that, I really suffer. I wish I could work always with Terry. I wish Terry would find more money more often to make movies. Instead, it seems always a huge problem to put together even a small budget. We're great friends. We understand each other without even talking. It's very funny. Sometimes we are even worried about it, because we come to the same conclusion without having spoken. So so far it's going really well. I wish it's gonna go like that forever. With Terry, I normally get on very, very early on, even though maybe not in terms of being on salary, but he immediately, whenever there is something possible to happen, he sends me the script, we start talking, we start exchanging ideas, but in a very early stage, like on this one, on Zero Theorem, literally, we started 3 years ago, in the sense when he got the very first script that then he kept in the drawer for 3 years, I already knew that script, etc., and all those things. With other directors, depends, because as I said, each director has his own way of tackling a project, and very often they call you a bit too late, in the sense, for example, nowadays you always have to have consider visual effects and things like that, and very often you get on a project that you realize that they've been talking with visual effects well before they spoke with you, and maybe they did the wrong choices, or at least in my opinion they did the wrong choices, but when the machine is already in motion, it's very hard to change things. Terry has a very unique approach to visualizing where he wants to go. Is normally there are artists, painters or illustrators. He never refers to other movies, never. In this specific case, he started sending me images, paintings of Neo Rauch. There was this German painter, contemporary painter, who does a very strange mix of old elements, futuristic elements, very strange use of colors. The palette of colors he uses is unique. And that was our first approach. Beginning of summer, mid-August, I was scouting with Terry in Romania. Beginning of September, we were there prepping, crewing up, building the sets. That actually they did quite an extraordinary work, even though they were driving us crazy, because it was always at the last second, everything at the last second, no planning, no thing. The crew there, my crew especially, was really good. We had to fight with some productive aspects that weren't making life any easier. But at the end, we pulled it off with no delays and in budget, and that is what it counts in order to then get other funds to make another movie. If you go over budget, then they start looking at you with suspicion. I think it's the second, in the sense, every film is different, every story is different. I mean, I consider our profession, we are storytellers. We're telling stories, we are helping directors and working with other craftsmen to tell a story. So it's a bit like when you verbally tell a story, you have to find the right words to tell that story, to convey that message, if there is a message, or a concept, if it's a concept. And the same thing, I think, is cinematography. I think cinematography, and also etymologically, is like calligraphy. So you have to choose the right font, the right way of writing things. I think that we're gonna go to a digital era, and film will be dropped at some point. Hopefully not in my lifetime, because technically speaking, digital is still far from being as rich and as flexible as film.